early morning. You have to have a little more energy. Have you not had your coffee yet? Well, why don't we get this a little started? So just as an FYI for everyone, we're going to have about 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. So start thinking a little bit now about the questions you want to ask David.
So we're not stuck here with nothing.
So we're not like, come on, someone raise your hand. But why don't we just get started? I want to talk a little bit about your work and also how it can apply to the entrepreneurs and tech enthusiasts here. But let's start with maybe storytelling. And I think that's a thing that a lot of entrepreneurs don't think as much about, but is just as important to their jobs as especially yours. Tech entrepreneurs are great at building, but they're typically less talented at storytelling. So what do you think makes for great storytelling, and how can that apply across industries?
I think every great entrepreneur, great business person usually has attention to story and attention to kind of the essence, things that are going to touch people inside besides the actual product. You know, every product that I buy that really resounds with me as a consumer usually has a story or an emotion behind it. As an illusionist, I first have to do illusions. That's my job. I have to do impossible things. But to really communicate to people, I have to take it one step further. They asked to bring some videos just to illustrate, and they can roll the first thing. You can lower the volume down. To levitate is kind of a normal thing. People have done levitations for years, but to make it really communicate more, we made it about something that people really relate to and dream about, which was flying. To fly on stage was an important thing because. It's something that everyone dreams about, everyone thinks about. It's part of your childhood wishes and so forth. So when I really did it on stage, this is me levitating now, but when I feel I talked about a story about my dream of flying and how important it was to follow your dreams and so forth. So here I go. Fly, boy, fly. And everything had to be right. The music had to be right, the lighting had to be right, the introduction had to be right. So it really communicated an overall idea, and the net result was men in the audience would be crying. Because it just reminded them of something they may have lost in their childhood and so forth. So, and then of course we did all the proving the necessary stuff, which is analogous to any tech things. I'm obliged to let's see if I do it here. Well, I fly into a box and through hoops and all that stuff. That's kind of the analogy of what you have to do. You're expected to do those things, but all the things around it was what made it special, what made it really communicate. And whether it's an Apple computer or something where the box is important, the feel of the box, or the font is important, that was my approach with magic. I had Disney and Orson Welles and Frank Sinatra as role models in my life that really pushed the envelope and made things very, very uniform and complete. So, enough of this. You can turn this crap off. Next question. Thanks.
Why don't we talk a little bit? So, I think you do an incredible job of captivating audiences and capturing their attention, which is something that entrepreneurs need to do as well. Whether it's with users or investors or potential recruits. So what do you think makes someone or something captivating, and how do you personally captivate audiences?
Well, I think, putting into terms that are relevant here, magic was really always a kind of a birthday party show or a Las Vegas little act in the Lido show. And I really fought to try to do what you're doing with all your businesses and to how to make it be relevant, communicate something more than just what it was. And I really searched to find things that would touch people. I wouldn't vanish a girl. I would vanish a girl in a shower as a scene from Psycho, because that was something everybody related to. Oh, I remember the movie Psycho. And so it wasn't just the vanish of a girl, it was a girl in that situation. I didn't just vanish an object. I found the Statue of Liberty. I vanished the Statue of Liberty, and you can roll out just for fun thing. You can lower the volume and just it was something that my mother saw when she came to America, past Liberty Island to Ellis Island. She saw that. So when you vanish the Statue of Liberty, suddenly it kind of is memorable in people's lives. And every product that I know of, if it really touches me as a consumer, as a person, I'm kind of locked into to be a loyal brand, a brand loyalty to that product if it's something that really touches me. So from the standpoint of magic, that's what I do with magic. Making stuff disappear is normal, but to make it just something, to do a piece of magic that's something that really communicates something as part of a core value of someone is the real trick, and that's why you know me, is because I didn't leave magic where it was. I tried to take it further into a more personal direction, and I think that's very true with every single. I was talking to some of the guys and ladies upstairs about what their businesses are and what their business models were, and the ones that I understood and I got were things that I was kind of related to. It became relevant to me. So it's finding that thing in magic, finding that thing in business is the real trick, I think.
So one of the things you excel at is creating these beautiful and immersive experiences. What do you think is the secret to creating an experience that wows audiences?
I think it's listening. In my business, I'm a lot older than all of you. So in show business and in communication, entertainment, things have vastly changed. Our business used to be putting on a show or a Broadway show or a movie, and you talk to the audience, you tell them what you want, you deliver information. And now it's a two-way conversation, for better or for worse. The audience is invested, they're part of it, they get to talk back to you, they get to review you, they tell you immediately what they think. It gets tweeted, it gets Facebooked, it gets FaceTimed immediately. It's amazing. And it sucks a little bit, and it's good a little bit because you learn from it. But you have to listen. You hear what people are saying right now, and this is normal for you. It's not normal for me because I was for years and years I didn't have to do that. So I'm adapting to that, and the magic of my show is all about. It's using cell phones and internet, and I'm doing things very interactive to try to really stay relevant to that. And it's a great opportunity on one hand to take what I do and combine it with what you do, and to give something to people to bring home with them, to remember, create memories for them, and that's what I think we all have to do, unfortunately, because we have that, and we have a bunch of idiots talking to us too. We've got some smart people, a lot of smart people. We got tons of people that don't know what the hell they're doing, or people that are kind of very angry or mean or have nothing else to do. So you are all having to deal with it every day. And my heart goes out to you. But a lot of it's really good. Eventually you get that percentage, I'm not sure what percentage of people who are really smart that can really contribute if you listen. So the answer is, I listen a lot. I listen to people all the time. And in my show here, I'm trying new things out every day. I keep an audience about this size after the show without charging them. And I do new illusions for them. And I listen to the reaction. And I change and judge. I've got my little iPad back there and say, how was that? This was better. Let's change. I got 3 cameras going to see if I should cut this line or change that or change this piece of lighting. And it's exactly what, you should do with every single product. I think you have to kind of just keep working on it and tweak. They talk about all the Pixar people. I've got a lot of friends at Pixar and Disney who are helping me with a new piece, and they talk about how little by little when they're working on 5 years on a movie, how they make it suck less. As before opening, and it's a matter of listening and finding how to tweak those things to finally get it right. And when you hear those stories of big successful companies like Pixar or Disney, or they going through that process, it makes you feel kind of good about yourself that you're going through the same process. It's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. No matter what stage you're in. If you're doing something new, it's going to be like you started for the first time. That's my experience.
So I think all of us really know you as a performer and illusionist, but you're just as much an entrepreneur as the rest of us. And you've taken many decades to build your career and your businesses. Can you tell us a little bit maybe about the early days of your career and the struggles and triumphs you encountered along the way?
It doesn't end. I wish I could tell you that it's easier when you have done a lot of stuff. I've been very, very lucky, and I have had a career for many years, and but if you're doing something new, it'll always be difficult. And in the beginning, it was a struggle. Everyone said no to me. It made me stronger. To have a career as a magician is kind of a ridiculous idea. It's like you're gonna do birthday parties. Or you're gonna do. I had to find a way to make it make sense. And I fought hard, and my role models were not Houdini or Thurston or Keller or the great magicians. It was Frank Sinatra and Orson Welles and Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire and movie directors and people that and Walt Disney, amazing inspiration as far as being a Renaissance kind of person and getting involved in many different areas. That helped me a lot, learning about music and learning about lighting and learning about storytelling, and all those things informed what I was doing. Even subconsciously, it worked out that way. And I think Steve Jobs, he was he knew about what is it called when you take you can write words with pens and calligraphy. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. Calligraphy. Just the fact that he had that thing, is going to inform what he does, and it's just to get things right. So I think having that background in all those areas really helped me as a magician, as a performer, as a business person, and to pay attention to successful businesses. I was the guy, that all my friends would watch The Boss. Not me, the boss, when I was not the boss. Watch The Boss and make fun of them. They say, this guy's like this guy's stupid, it's ridiculous. And, all that hatred kind of made them feel good about themselves. I was the one in the room going, but he's got to be doing something right. He's had some kind of idea that maybe I should learn something. I should, not team up with the haters, to kind of find the thing. And maybe the guy was making mistakes, but there was some gold in what he was doing. And I'd search to find that one thing that was working for him, to kind of learn from that, And I guess that's what all these conferences are about. It's about trying to learn one piece that makes some kind of sense. So, yeah, I have these islands in the Bahamas that it doesn't. I'm sorry, I'm advertising. You can play it. I bought these islands in the Bahamas, and what does a magician do if you have islands in the Bahamas? What would you do?
Make them disappear?
We don't make them disappear. We have movie theaters that appear on the beach, literally. The beach is normal, but then a movie theater appears. You watch a movie under the stars. We have treasure hunts where the music is playing in the bushes, and there's live pirates that come out. If they were kind of these bespoke experiences, we have Houdini's pool table there, and just very immersive experience. We do a laser tag on the beach, but with helicopters that magically appear. It's a really, really remarkable thing, and it's for billionaires and for people like you. That chartered the island out. We have a lot of very high-profile guests that you've all heard of, and you all use their computers and stuff. How do you impress them? How do you impress people that have seen it all and done it all? And so I've spent 5 years putting this thing together, which is not a magic show, but it's definitely informed with theater and romance and kind of dreams. And it's kind of fantasy island. So you kind of pick what you want to do. I get to be, tattoo. The plane. But you get to pick how the experience is. So that's kind of a fun thing. That's an entrepreneur. Say it.
Yeah, entrepreneurship.
I get to play, in your world in this way, a new business that has kind of all those levels. The logo had to be right, the music had to be right, the website is an amazing website that we have, and it's trying to really try to get everything right.
What do we tell them the website? They can take a look at it later. What's the website?
It's MUSHA, Musha, C-A-Y, Musha K. MushaK.com. It's pretty cool. You have to have a lot of patience because it's a flash site, and it takes a lot of loading time, but it's worth it. It's pretty cool. It's MushaK.com or theislandsofcopperfieldbay.com. It's pretty cool.
So why don't we talk a little bit about, I'm kind of curious more about how your art, your performance, your magic has evolved over the years, especially, and we talked a little bit about this, with the rise of social media, mobile phones, and audiences that have more distractions than ever. How has that art evolved so that you've been able to captivate them and keep them coming?
Well, in Houdini's day, Houdini's the most famous magician historically. He died on Halloween. Pretty good move, right? He did something that was very handy. People want, I wish I could escape from something. He did stuff that was really good PR. And I have all this stuff. I have a museum of all of his stuff. And he was a pretty cool guy. But people at that time, in the 1920s, would sit there and watch a box for a half hour with nothing else on stage. I have to keep talking for you to be interesting, right? For you to do this. So if I sat there, you go, well, you start to wrestle around. But Houdini would get into a box or a water torture cell, and they cover it with a cloth, and people would literally sit there in the audience for 30 minutes rooting for him to get out of this box. The world is totally transformed. There was a thing called MTV. You may have heard about it in your youth. Steven Spielberg, quick cuts and so forth. Our appetite is changed in 100 years. It's totally different. So how we communicate ideas is at a much faster level. When I started on television, I was doing those romantic things. I would do a sailor number, kind of like an MGM musical, and I'd disappear in a phone booth, and I levitate my love interest, and that was okay. And I loved MGM musicals. And then MTV came out all of a sudden. Oh my God, MTV. What am I going to do? So I had girls wrapped around me and kind of like with big hair, and I had big hair, and then Peter Gabriel was playing, Phil Collins was beating the drums, and I'd be levitating and vanishing, and it was really cool, and I had to go through that. Then that kind of went away a little bit, and then it became about storytelling about people's dreams. So I did a Broadway show with Francis Ford Coppola, the Godfather, Apocalypse Now guy, and we did a show called Dreams and Nightmares, and the whole show was about other people's dreams. So the stories were about people's dreams and their nightmares. So it was all magic about that. And now, where are we now? Look at she's got a cell phone in her hand, and you've got a cell phone, and you've got a computer, and you're talking like, what do I do? It's like, so I'm making magic happen in those cell phones and on your wrists and so forth. So constantly, it's keeping evolving over and over again, still with a core value of kind of listening to the audience and listening, caring about people's feelings and family values and not family values, and being irreverent and all the stuff that it takes to entertain an audience today. So it's constantly evolving stuff, and it never changes to stay relevant. It always changes to stay relevant, I should say.
Maybe a little more personal question for you. And by the way, we have about 10 minutes or so until we start letting you all ask questions. We want to give you plenty of time. But I'm curious if there's something about you that most people don't know or would surprise us.
I'm a really bad singer. When I sing, the audience disappears. No, I don't know. I just, I love learning and growing. I'm not sure that's unexpected. I think, all of us in this room love learning and growing, or else we wouldn't be here. I don't know. I don't have a great answer for that question. I'm just, I love my job. I really love my job. People say, well, when are you going to retire, when you do this? I kind of don't, I love what I do. And I think when George Lucas retired kind of this year, and he handed off the reins to, a lot of smart people, and he really, I know people, and he really retired. I say, well, no, he just stopped. He gave it, he handed over the reins. And I wonder if that's going to happen to me. I can't imagine that happening to me. Here's a guy that touched all of us in so many ways and told stories that kind of we gain inspiration from. And if you like it or don't like it, it's part of our lives. And everybody that I know that does that, usually, starts waiting. When I did the Statue of Liberty thing, I reached out to Frank Capra. Frank Capra, for you young children out there, directed It's a Wonderful Life, the movie you've seen, Chris, It's a Wonderful Life, and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And I went to visit Frank Capra to have him help me write the speech that I would say before the statue would disappear, to talk about how liberty is important to us, how I'm going to vanish it as a symbol to show everyone, to remember how important our liberty is, and when it's gone, imaginable about when it was gone. And Frank Capra was at the end of his days. He was, he was suffering, getting very old, but he still had enough energy to tell me, "Don't do it. Try and fail." Wait, what do you mean? He says, "Well, you're going to go on TV, and you're going to try to vanish it, and it won't vanish. So you're going to fail." And I said, "Well, Mr. Capra, I can't I can't do that. I have to, my job, they're going to tune into a TV special, and I have to make it disappear. No, don't do it." Eventually, I got him to help me with it. But he was really, really strong about this, about not wanting to see me fail at doing this, to show how strong liberty was. But it eventually worked out. But it was amazing to see, even in a guy in his 80s or however old he was, he still was had that fight in him, And I hope that's true of me.
So you were gracious enough to have me come for one of your shows, and one of the
What'd you think?
It was fantastic.
Thank you.
One of the there's some cool stuff coming, but one of the things that really struck me about the show was the interpersonability of it. You have this comedic timing with the audience, and you bring them in, and you build a relationship with them. So how do you do that? How do you build that that interpersonal connection, and maybe how can they build their interpersonal connection with their products or their companies or their ideas?
And that's something that's really if I can say anything to you that would make it seems obvious, but if you can figure that out, that's everything. You know what I'm saying? It's really everything. If you figure out how to make people go to feel comfortable with you as businesses, goes back, think different. They in that very famous campaign with the Apple campaign with all of the think different. They had Lucille Ball, they had Kermit, they had Einstein, they had all these people and immediately as a consumer went, "Oh, yeah, I like that. I see they were kind of special in their own way, and maybe I'm going to buy a computer now." It was really kind of made it tangible. And and for me, I have to do that. I'm on stage as a human being doing it, so I have to do it. As a owner of an island, I'm doing that constantly. Trying to, how do I make it very personal? So that's the. What was your question?
Yeah, it was on the interpersonability and how you.
Yeah, man, it's everything. It's really, I learned there was a lot of magicians when I was a kid, playing in the Folies Bergère, and they do their act, and they're brilliant, but you didn't know who they were. A lot of people who are technically amazing, but if you can figure out who, I knew if I could make the audience know who I was and give them a part of me, then they would go, "Okay, I can. He's part of my family," And if you think of every business that has been successful in doing that, it's one that lasts forever, I think.
So a few days ago, we were talking about some adapting and adaptation, and specifically, your audiences are very diverse, and I was shocked actually by the number of international that come for your shows that may not even understand your language, and you've traveled around the world and done shows, and
that's why there was no laughs because.
So how do you adapt your show for different cultures and different audiences? How do you figure that out? What do you do?
I'm not sure that it relates to anything that you're doing, but I have when I travel around the world and I have the words all over the stage in phonetically. So when I'm in China, I'll speak Chinese really badly with phonetically, and they laugh at my jokes. They laugh because I'm messing up their language, and we get a lot out of it. But they really feel great when the fact that I took the time to learn what they did. When they come to Las Vegas, I can't do everybody's language, but I try my best.
How about you talked a little bit about. A little bit about critics and criticism. I'm kind of curious, especially now in a world of social media where it's constantly coming to you. How do you deal with that? How do you impart that? And how do you deal maybe with some that are more irrational than others?
It's hard. Criticism is hard. No matter what you've done or how you've taken your career, your life, your business, criticism is hard. And I've spoken to a lot of people who you look up to, in business and so forth, and it's still hard. It's no fun, no matter what you do. But I try to learn from every single bit. I listen. Which is maybe for better or for worse. I listen to everybody from every walk of life that I could go, "Oh, they don't know it." I listen. I do listen, and I try to find maybe the bit of truth in what they're saying that. The rest of it might be really stupid, but there might be one bit of truth in it, and I do listen to it. And I do read those reviews. I read my TripAdvisor reviews every day, and most of them are awesome. And there's going to be the one person that just doesn't get it, But I try to. Is there any truth in it? And it does inform what I do. And again, as I said in the beginning, it really is part of our life now, where it's not just the one critic that you have to please, or the two reviewers of a product. You're hearing consumers are talking back to you every day, and they're telling you what they think. And I listen. I don't know what you do.
So one or two more questions, and we'll start opening up to the audience. I'm curious what's next for you in your show, and like you talked a little bit about it, but kind of what direction do you see for yourself and your magic and your performance in general in the next couple of years or the decade?
I'm just, right now I love creating stuff that really involves the audience. When I'm levitating somebody, I'm levitating in the middle of the audience. It's hard to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's easier to do it on stage. Do it right in the middle of the audience is really hard. So that pushes the envelope. I'm not sure the audience really understands it. Oh, that they really say, well, that was different, because I think they may feel it though. Even though the audience doesn't maybe say, that's different because of this, I think hopefully they feel it. So when I do that, that's different, and it's hard, but I do it. I have magic happening on people's hands and throughout the whole audience, in their cell phones. We have a new thing in the show with a dinosaur. I'll give it away. It hasn't been in the show yet. Ben saw it as a test we did after the show, but I made sure to get that dinosaur hanging over the heads of the audience, and the seats rumbling and all that kind of stuff, and the kids are going to be scared. There's going to be heart attacks, I'm sure, but it's trying to just, what do? You got to push it forward somehow. So trying to, kill people, I guess. So, no. But I'm joking. Yeah. So it's really trying to, what is the next place? How do you, keep moving forward? We're doing a lot of magic in movies. There's a movie called Now You See Me that was a big success last year. I'm one of the producers of the new Now You See Me movie. So it's trying to take magic in films in a different way. We're doing things in different areas. So it's cool.